Robinson.
Hello?
Hi. Give us a second. We're sitting down right now, all right? We're just, Rob's pouring himself a drink. I'm opening up a beer. Give me a minute.
Nice.
And then we
Okay.
will sit down. Hold on here. I gotta make sure I finished all my other beers.
All right. No unfinished beers.
No unfinished beers.
Robinson, we are back with Colin Bressler. How are you, Colin?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. This is
No
awesome.
problem, man. Thanks for coming on. And your company is Bressler Productions, correct?
Yes, sir.
You are a production company, and where are you located?
We're in South Texas.
Okay, that's a cool spot. That's a different spot than I either expected or that's a cool location. Do you feel like that brings you more like a different clientele?
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually, most of my career was in New York. It's where I went to film school. So I kind of grew up there as in the film industry. Came down here, and it's very different than up there, obviously. So yeah, totally. I mean, there's definitely like a really cool, fervent kind of indie film world down here because of like the Richard Linklater, and Dazed and Confused kind of world of like Texas film. A lot of like Texas film is like Chainsaw Massacre, stuff like that. But it's a very indie film kind of community in Texas.
That's cool. Like I said, that's a different perspective than I expected to hear. That's cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thanks.
And your film, Colin, your film that you sent to me, Remy's Demons, it was super cool to watch.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was a labor of love. I'll say that. But
I was gonna ask.
Yeah, it was. Okay.
Is that like your baby? As a film?
Yeah, I mean they all are in certain ways, but I'm always quite upfront about the fact that everybody, I'm learning. I'm still growing as a filmmaker, and I try to sort of improve and learn new techniques and sort of try to dive into different subject matter each time. I'll say that Remy's Demons for me was an exploration of something totally different.
Oh wow!
So it was really fun and kind of exciting to kind of try something as a little bit of a challenge.
I ain't gonna lie.
Properly.
I ain't gonna lie. That first scene it's almost like a seance type feel. Like it scared me. It scared me, Colin. And I'm like, I don't know. Can I watch this whole film? But it was definitely watchable. But I didn't know. I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen?
Nice. That's great. Yeah, it's like I'm not like the thing that's crazy is I'm not. I've seen a million horror movies. It's not that. I'm just not your sort of typical horror, fanatic.
Oh, wow.
And I came to horror, I went to regular film school. I just love movies, all types of movies.
Nice.
And I guess I don't step into it like, all right, I'm making a horror movie. I kind of just step into it. Any of these films I've made, just sort of saying, what's an interesting context. And I try to give it a horror sort of backdrop, but the sort of the what holds it together is always coming from somewhere else, and then it's more of just sort of like and I and to be honest with you, I've gotten complaints for that, and I get it. I know that certain horror fans are looking for tons of gore. Certain horror fans are looking for insane Satan type stuff or demon possessions. And, it's just like, I've just always had the philosophy, and the mentors I've had in my life have always said, just kind of be true to yourself and like what kind of vision or what story you want to tell. And you can't really sit there and go like, what do people want to see and how do I make them happy? Because no one knows the answer to that. If Hollywood knew the answer to that, they'd have, they would never have a bomb of a movie on their hands.
Right. Yes. I like going back to the film though. I love the cast. I love the script. I love the characters. How long did it take to make the movie?
Well, it was crazy because we started. I was just thinking about that today. We started in January 2019, and what happened was I had a lead actor to play Remy, and he bailed in March of 2019, and so that February of 2019. And that kind of just like threw me in this, like, because as you saw the movie, I mean, Remy's in almost every scene.
Yes.
And so I now was like, oh shit, I was like, I'm kind of screwed here. So I was trying to figure out, I'm like, well, how am I going to pick up the pieces? And to be honest, I was ready to throw it in the trash can. And Angelina Ron Sorensen, who plays Mildred in the movie, the aunt,
yes,
she kind of talked me off the ledge because I was like, I remember calling her and being like, look, I'm not going to be able to cast, find another Remy, blah, blah, blah. She was a part of the project. She was in my last 2 movies.
Oh, wow.
She also helps, she produces with me. And she was kind of like, look, like, let's just try, let's give it a month or so. Let's try to find a Remy. And soon after, this awesome casting director down here, she's also an actress, but June Griffin Garcia, hooked me up with Jason Scarborough, and he played Remy.
Wow.
And
see, I felt like when I saw it, I'm like, he's got to be the original guy you cast. He killed it. And almost like I didn't know how to take him. Is he a genius? Is he kind of slow? Is it just because he's coddled by his mother? He did it perfectly, where you just couldn't tell. You couldn't tell.
Yeah, well, the idea is, and again, I'm my sort of philosophy on all this stuff is it's kind of like the way I liked it because I'm a fan as much as anybody else of everybody else's movies. Is I don't really go in like for me. Okay, so what I'm getting at is Remy for Jason and I. Remy's on the spectrum, the autism spectrum.
Yes, that's what I got.
And that was sort of like the impetus of the whole project was I was like a what if scenario. What if somebody on the spectrum was raised by Carrie's mother from the movie Carrie, basically, was the sort of original sort of starting off point.
Yeah.
And then it kind of grew out from there, and we started, Josh Kaza, who co-wrote it with me, we started playing with, demon possession and demon conjuring and these kind of the dark arts and this kind of stuff, and it just sort of cascaded out from there and really became a story about faith and identity and what these how Remy sort of deals with his identity when everything just sort of falls apart around him and where he lands in that whole situation. So that was kind of like the thing. But yeah, I mean, Jason, shout out to Jason for a second. Jason just won the Binge Horror Fest Online Best Performance. I wasn't surprised because, and the thing I want to make sure it's like clear is like, so because I didn't answer your question, Jason, the movie took almost 11 months to shoot, considering again the cancellation part. So Jason had to sort of keep his beard. He had to look like Remy for like 9 months of his life. He had to live in Remy's shoes, so to speak, as an actor. And Jason takes it very seriously. And I remember feeling bad for him as the waning months were going on, and we're getting into now, November 2019, and we're still filming. And I just remember looking at him like one day, he was like sitting outside of the house, like working on the character. And I was just like, damn, this poor guy, man, has to like live in this character's mind.
Wow. That's amazing. Wow.
And it's crazy because sorry, go ahead.
I loved you mentioning the aunt. Like, she was such a hateable character. Like, just for somebody to be that brave and just take that role. Like,
well, it's funny because she was in my last movie, Domestic Hell, and she played in Domestic Hell a woman that sort of dealing with domestic violence and having to overcome that. And it was a very flawed character, but sweet. So then when I wrote this, Angelina's like amazing, but I had never worked with her in this way. And I wrote the character, and I started sending her all these videos of Roseanne Barr from the Roseanne Show. And I was like, I kind of wanted to be in that realm. I wanted to be like, that kind of thing. And so it's like, and I remember her saying to me, she's like, man, I don't know, man. Well, I'm going to do my best, and I could tell she was like uber nervous about it because she was like, I've never really played a role like this.
Yeah.
But like you said, I'm very proud of her because she kicked ass and like she was amazing and put in the work.
There were some scenes you loved her and some scenes you just hate her. She was almost that bipolar person where you couldn't hate her 100%, but you also could at some point.
Well, it was a big deal to me is like I don't really think villains overall, assuming for some Mildred has been a villain. It sounds like for you to some degree. I know that other people have told me big time. They've literally told me like they call her, they're like cursing at her and stuff. But I always believe I'm like yes, but I want I want there to be a redeeming quality that mixed in there.
Yeah.
So like it's not cool she calls them names. No. It's not cool how she treats them. It's not cool how she sort of like minimizes their sort of culture or whatever you want to call it. And she, other stuff that she does to the girlfriend, Vera, things like that. But it's also at the same time, I wanted to show a little bit of like that she is kind of dealing with a lot of shit.
Yes.
She's bouncing a lot of crap, and this isn't easy.
And she took on
to try to bring in a little of that humanity.
Yeah, she took on taking care of a person and a whole household that she didn't expect to have.
Yeah, and we were trying to show that balance of this woman just trying to sort of like keep things together, but at the same time, she just doesn't understand him, doesn't really understand, isn't someone who sort of sees his condition, quote unquote, as a thing, as a real thing, right? It's mostly she sees it as sort of immaturity or, just doesn't get it. And for her, it's like, what, grow up, get your shit together. Go get an apartment, find a nice job, stop showing people around to like murder houses,
Yes. I want to ask too, Robin. Oh my God. Was he the demon? I never knew for sure. Was he the demon from the beginning with the horns?
First of all, Ronald Mercado played him. Ronald is awesome and another amazing talent down here in South Texas. And Ronald is someone who, or not Ronald, sorry, Robin is someone who is obsessed. He tells that story. He was in prison. He's been, in and out of prison most of his life and had a tough life and everything. And basically, like, he has had run-ins, so to speak, with spirits and dark things. And he tells that story about prison, that he felt something. And it's like he's kind of obsessed. He's never like let go of it. He's kind of obsessed with that feeling, and he sort of wants to experience it again, but also wants to know what it is, what's it about, and is kind of become like obsessed and fascinated by it. That's also his fascination with Remy as well, sort of like and his mother, because he sees like Remy's YouTube videos. And he's kind of become a little like fan in a way.
I love that. I love how Remy had the YouTube channel. I felt that was a great aspect to the film.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'm curious.
Yeah,
so,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, because you kind of struggled there where you said Ronald and then you were like Robin. So like on set, do you call your actors by their character names or the real person name?
Yeah, it's so funny. That's a great question. One I haven't heard, and I love it because, for me, I'm only speaking for me, but I'm always kind of. It's not that I can't. I know Ronald's Ronald, right? But because you're on set and you're trying to direct, and you're like, all right, then you're going to go over here, and then you're going to hit Mildred. I mean, Angelita. Like I do that all the time because you're talking to human beings with real names that you know, right?
Yeah.
But then you're also like you're directing in this moment, in this scene.
Yes.
So you're sort of like talking by their names. But then I have this weird quirk where I get all self-conscious about it. So I'm like, I feel like I'm like, oh, am I like kind of insulting them by calling them by their character? I have these moments where then I'll be like, no, you know what I mean? Angelita, you'll be over here as Mildred, right? And then you're, like, so like, I don't know. For me, it's a little thing, but it's kind of like I do have these sort of self-aware moments where I kind of like jump out of my body, but that's a personality thing in general for me. So I'm imagining, because I know I've seen like behind the scenes stuff where certain actors, let's say, might be method actors or just really get into their characters, and they've been demand to be called by that name the whole shoot or something.
I've done it in interviews. I'm like, so Jeffrey, and their name is Herbert. Yeah, I've done
right,
it.
where we've watched like movies and you've called them by their character.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, no, totally, and that it's a great question because it's true. And also for me because I write this stuff.
Yes.
You know, and Josh Kaza, my co-writer, was on set a lot. You know, we like lived with these characters for so long.
Yeah.
The shoot was so long, but then imagine we wrote it for about 3 months before we ever filmed. So, you know, we were like living with it for well over a year.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of like, Mildred is this person in my mind. And, you know, you're just kind of like, Angelita sort of disappears and you're talking to Mildred. You want Mildred to go over here, and you want, you know, Remy's this and he's got to do that. And then on my, you know, excuse me, my films are, you know, no budget movies, not even micro budget, no budget. And so, you know, we're talking about limited time. Jason has a family. He has a full-time job. So, you know, it's not like I can just go, Jason, you know, we're going to shoot for like 4 or 5 straight days and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, he can't do that. So, you know, and it's not just him, it's every actor. And me, by the way, I have a job, you know, like, so it's just all this part-time experience, but you're also at the same time trying to keep a dramatic impetus and flow to your story, and the narrative has to be congruent. I mean, there's moments in the movie that are almost back to back that probably were shot 6 months later.
Wow.
You know, so you're always sort of dabbling with this notion of sort of trying to remember, and I had to do a lot of photos and keep a log of like what people look like, their hair, their dress. And for the actors, it was really hard because, you know, this was 6 months, 7 months, 8 months later.
Wow.
Their lives moved on. You know, they've been doing stuff, and they're like, oh shit, my hair was braided. Oh, I haven't braided my hair in a long time. You know, like just stuff like that. It's all these little minutia things that are like, I find fascinating, but they're really irritating when you're filming because you're like, it's just killing me.
Yeah. I want to ask too, did anything like crazy go down during the filming?
I mean, it's not really crazy, but like we were filming in this. There's a scene in the movie that's sort of like an aqueduct. I don't even know what it is, but I just found that it's near my wife's school, and it's just a really cool. So it's Remy kind of takes Vera there, and he tells her about his father, and his father used to take him there and tell him stories, and then she plays tag with him. So that location was totally stolen. Like, I didn't have permits or anything. And again, filmmakers, we just sort of think the world sort of revolves around us.
Yeah.
So we go there, we're filming, and all of a sudden I look over my shoulder, and there's 2 police officers like coming 5 feet away. They get there, and they were ornery as hell. And they were just like, you can't be here. This is an active aqua, like this can flood. Honestly, it probably hasn't flooded in 15 years, but they were like, this is very dangerous. You need to leave. Now, coming from New York, I'm sort of used to sort of jousting with police. So I was like and it was 1,000 degrees. It was in the summer in Texas. And I was already pissed off. And all I had were 2 shots left of the scene. And I'm like, hey, okay, yeah, I hear you. But I just need 2 shots. Can you give me like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And one of the cops was like, no, you got to leave. And she kind of kept raising her sort of irritation with me. And I sort of was raising mine. And I remember looking at Jason, and Jason was looking at me like, dude, I'm not getting arrested. I'm not. I'm just not doing it for this movie. You know?
It's not
and
worth
I was
it.
like, I just have that thing because, like, when you come from New York, I do camera work. That's what I've been doing my whole career. It's kind of like you're always in New York. You're sort of, you know, your rights, and there's this whole battle in New York about the streets and like sidewalks and the police, because all the buildings, right, are operated by independent security companies and all this stuff. They try to extend the reach of their buildings, so you're in this constant fight. For like, I'm allowed to be on this sidewalk. No, you're not. This is that building sidewalk. And you're like, no, it's not. And you have these constant battles, right?
Yeah.
So Texas is different. It's just not like that. And so this woman was like coming at me, and I was like, finally, like I just sort of like could see she wasn't going to budge. And it was also like, I clicked in my mind and I was like, I'm not getting arrested. And because I could tell like her hand was tightening around the taser type thing. And I was like, I'm not getting tased. So I said, okay, fine. And I laughed. And it's funny because that scene it kills me in as a director editor, because the one shot is missing. It really bothers me about the scene structurally, and it's because I couldn't get it because But that was really, other than that, I mean, everything other than the herky jerky schedule and that it took forever to film. I mean, the shoots themselves all went relatively smoothly. I mean, every film has their sound problems and like planes that seem to fly over the house for 3 hours straight, stuff like that. But but I wouldn't say nothing else happened. No, that's just the one that sort of sticks out to me.
Yeah.
I when I was younger, I wanted to be a film director. I never went that direction, but that's what I wanted to do. And I had gotten a lot of books on it, and there was this one book that I had gotten that was called a guerrilla. It was like guerrilla filmmaking. I think that's what it was called. And in that book, they talk about how you need permits for like every location you go to. But there were directors, I forget what film it was, but there was a director who he would get shots by just like hiding in a barrel. Like he would hide inside of a barrel and then film, I guess, cut a hole into the fucking barrel and film the scene, and somebody would like roll the barrel and he'd get away with it instead of paying for the permit.
That's brilliant. Yeah. I'm gonna get out. When we get off, I'm gonna buy a barrel on Amazon.
Definitely worth it for Niagara Falls, I feel. Definitely worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the constant. I mean, there's a few sort of constant variables that every single filmmaker, anyone who makes films listening to this are probably going, yeah, totally. Yeah. There just are certain things that happen that, and that's one of them, right? Locations are just like, it's a constant battle. And then like I said, I just love that aqueduct thing. There's this cool graffiti on it. It just is just a really cool looking place. And I also like, I've just over the years I've learned like location is so key to movies, because, you want to shoot in interesting places. It just makes every shot just much more dynamic. So it's this constant battle. I totally understand why that guy did that, because it makes or breaks your movie.
It just makes me think of, too, when we talked to our buddy years ago, Tremaine Hayho, and he did a movie called Rideshare, and he did it in a car, so, like, he was able to move while he was filming. He was able to drive around and just not have anywhere, like, he had to be
wasn't stationed anywhere to where he would get questioned, like, well, you don't have a permit to be there. And then I remember reading in that book where that guy that was in the barrel would make sure that he wasn't really getting any like, street signs or anything that would be noticeable of like, oh, well, you were obviously on this street,
Yeah.
Oh, Colin, do you have any upcoming projects you could tell us about?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm working on a script with another great young writer, Daniel Bomer, out of South Texas. Well, he's actually from Mexico, but we're writing a sort of a sci-fi horror, type movie, mixture, fusion film called New Jerusalem, and so that one, that's kind of like I'm aiming for that to be my next no budget feature. Nice. Sort of going to try to raise some funds and try to film in the summer coming up with this, hopefully with this COVID thing, it'll be a little bit more free next summer. But that's sort of like, that's the main sort of like project I'm going to, dig into. And then with Josh Kaza, who I wrote Remy's with, we have a TV sort of Game of Thrones-ish type TV concept that we're going to try to market to the networks and do that whole pitch thing. I've never done it before, so I'm pretty excited prospects of it. But yeah, so we're doing that. Those are my two sort of main things. I've got a documentary in post right now. I filmed with my wife a couple of years back. We're just finally now getting to finish the edit and everything. Nice. So that's going to be the next project that's sort of released. That'll be coming in early 2021 is the projection on that. just finishing up some post stuff. So that's kind of the three major things sort of happening. And, there's always other stuff I'm trying to develop, or, I always write scripts. So I have other scripts that are sitting on the shelf that I just sort of like starting to send out to be like, hey, if anyone's interested, let me know, kind of thing, on Facebook or different social media. Yeah.
I have one. It's called Ghost Bat. It's about how Corona started. I feel like a bat, nobody likes bats. And this bat is just sick and tired of it. And he's died because somebody hit him with a broom. And he just wants to teach people to love bats. And he
That's awesome.
He's just going to make people sick until they learn to love him. It's
That's amazing. It sounds kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's called Ghost Bat. I feel like Celine Dion might do a song for it or something. I don't know, but I'm trying to sell it, Colin. So if you have a buyer, let me know.
Ghost Bat is more relevant than mine, but years ago I had an idea for Ghost Alien, where it was an alien that crash landed into a house and he died. So he was just a ghost now haunting that house.
Oh,
from that day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Ghost Alien. It was my pitch for a sci-fi original film. I figured they would want that.
Awesome. No, but that's kind of like that's like the market I would love to play in, is like doing stuff like that, like sci-fi originals and things like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Just like dabbling in that world, like, yeah, so that's awesome.
That would be cool. Colin, thank you so much for talking to us, dude. It's been a blast.
No, thank you guys so much, and thanks for supporting the film and seeing it and everything. I really appreciate it, and thanks for having me on tonight.
Absolutely. Where can everybody find you?
I'm on Instagram at Bressler Productions on Instagram, and Facebook, Colin Bressler on Facebook, and BresslerProductions.com is my production website. We do corporate videos and all kinds of other stuff. There's movie stuff there too. So anyway, but yeah, BresslerProductions.com and IMDb, Colin Bressler, and check out Remy's Demons on Amazon Prime right now.
Awesome, brother. We will definitely, when this show goes up, I'll send you all the links to the full show and the individual interview on YouTube.
Excellent, guys. Well, thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too, my friend.